The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zixthor's translator crackled with indignation. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that among his species indicated extreme offense. "You dare mock the Kathrani Empire with this beverage?" The insectoid ambassador's mandibles clicked furiously as he gestured at the steaming mug before him. Betty Chen, Earth's youngest diplomatic envoy, maintained her composure despite the tension crackling through the air. Beside her, Timothy Morrison, her partner and the mission's cultural liaison, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. They had anticipated resistance, but not outright hostility. "Ambassador Zixthor," Betty began carefully, her voice steady and measured. "I assure you, no mockery is intended. What you see before you is one of humanity's oldest traditions of hospitality and comfort." The Kathrani ambassador's antennae twitched skeptically. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 17 different species watched with varying degrees of curiosity and concern. The tension between Earth and the Kathrani Empire had been escalating for months, ever since a misunderstanding at the Proxima trading post had nearly erupted into armed conflict. Timothy stepped forward, his hands clasped in the universal gesture of peace. "If I may explain, Ambassador, on Earth, when we wish to show care, comfort, or extend an olive branch, that's a peace symbol. We often share hot chocolate." "Hot chocolate?" The word came out garbled through the translator as if the device itself was confused by the concept. "A warm drink made from the processed seeds of the Theobroma cacao plant," Betty elaborated, "mixed with heated milk, sweetener, and topped with confections we call marshmallows." She gestured to the fluffy white cubes floating atop the rich brown liquid. "For thousands of years, humans have gathered over such drinks to resolve differences, comfort the grieving, celebrate victories, and yes, to make peace." The Shalarian observer, a crystalline being whose species had maintained neutrality for eons, chimed softly. "Curious. The humans offer sustenance during negotiation. This is unprecedented in modern diplomacy." Ambassador Zixthor leaned closer to the mug, his sensors analyzing the contents. "You expect me to ingest this alien concoction? What guarantee do I have that it's not poisoned? Not designed to make me compliant?" Betty had expected this. She lifted an identical mug from the tray Timothy held and took a long, deliberate sip. The familiar sweetness and warmth spread through her chest, reminding her of winter evenings in her grandmother's kitchen in Vancouver, where conflicts between cousins were always resolved over hot chocolate and conversation. "The only thing this might make you, Ambassador, is comfortable enough to listen," she said after swallowing. "That's all we ask. Just listen." Timothy added, "In human culture, sharing food and drink is sacred. It's how we show we see each other not as enemies, but as people, beings with whom we can find common ground. My own grandmother used to say that no one could stay angry over a good cup of hot chocolate." The Kathrani ambassador was silent for a long moment. His smaller eyes, usually hidden, emerged to study the humans more carefully. Finally, he reached forward with one of his 4 manipulator limbs and lifted the mug. The chamber held its collective breath. Zixthor brought the drink to his mandibles and sipped cautiously. His antennae went rigid, then slowly began to sway, a sign Betty knew from her research of pleased surprise among his people. "It is warm," he said slowly. "Sweet. The texture of these marshmallows is not unpleasant." He took another sip. "And you say humans share this during conflicts?" "During conflicts, after conflicts, and to prevent conflicts," Timothy confirmed. "My father and his business rival became best friends after my mother forced them to sit down over hot chocolate and actually talk to each other. 20 years later, they still meet every week for the same ritual." Betty seized the moment. "Ambassador, The incident at Proxima was a misunderstanding rooted in cultural differences. Your security detail perceived our merchant vessel's standard hailing frequency as an aggressive scan. Our captain thought your ship's defensive formation was an attack posture. But beneath all that, we're not so different. We both protect our own. We both value honor and clear communication. And you believe this beverage will resolve our differences? Zixthor's tone had softened considerably. He took another drink. No, Betty said honestly. The hot chocolate won't solve anything, but it might help us remember that we're all just trying to survive in this galaxy. That we all have families we return to, traditions we cherish, and futures we're trying to build. She smiled. The chocolate is just a reminder that sometimes the simplest gestures carry the deepest meanings. The Shalarian observer chimed again, this time with what sounded like approval. The humans understand something that many advanced species have forgotten, that peace is not built on treaties alone, but on shared moments of vulnerability and trust. Ambassador Zixthor finished his hot chocolate and carefully set down the mug. His antennae were now in their most relaxed position, and when he spoke, his translator carried a warmth it hadn't before. On Cathran, we have a saying, "The warrior who shares water shares life." Perhaps your hot chocolate is not so different from our ancient tradition. He gestured to Timothy. I would request another serving of this human drink. And perhaps we might discuss the Proxima incident with clearer minds? Betty and Timothy exchanged glances, relief and hope mingling in their expressions. As Timothy prepared more hot chocolate, this time for the other delegates who were now expressing interest, Betty began outlining a framework for peaceful resolution. 3 hours later, when the treaty was signed and the crisis averted, the Galactic News Network would run a curious headline. Historic Peace Accord reached over human beverage. But in that moment, as 17 different species sampled hot chocolate for the first time and found common ground in its simple comfort, Betty thought of her grandmother's wisdom. Sometimes, saving the galaxy started with a warm cup and an open heart. The marshmallows, as Timothy would later note in his cultural report, were definitely the key factor. Something about their fluffy sweetness transcended species barriers in ways that formal diplomacy never could. Humanity had brought many things to the Galactic Council: technology, art, military prowess. But perhaps their greatest gift was the reminder that even in the cold vastness of space, warmth and sweetness still mattered. And hot chocolate, it turned out, was now a diplomatic tool recognized across 17 star systems. End.